All right, you're back with Armchair Engineer 85. Sometimes you win, and sometimes you lose. Or rather, sometimes you learn. And boy, did I learn. So, before this was made, this was the Mark 1, if you will. This was my first attempt at it. Everything was going well until it didn't. I decided that I would show you guys this instead of trying to pretend it didn't happen, and just to show you that this is the way things go sometimes. Anytime you learn something new or you attempt something new, this is what happens. So this handle here, believe it or not, it was already a little marked up, just a little bit, and I couldn't remember exactly what I used this handle for because I had previously bored it out, and then I got thinking the other day that I remember what it was for. It was the first hard handle ratchet about like 10 years ago that I did. And my method back then was fairly crude because I didn't realize that you could boil the handle or heat it up and it would slide onto the shaft of the ratchet much easier. So I used to use a chunk of wood and a hammer and pound it on that way, and I did a bit of damage to it, just a little bit. It was a little marked up. So I had previously taken it off and learned how to do a ratchet the proper way. So anyways, I set it aside, and when I decided I was going to do an air chuck, I decided I would use that handle because I thought in case something goes wrong, which it did, I won't mind losing this handle, which I did. So I'm going to tell you guys what I did wrong the first go around and in order to succeed my second try. The first thing I did was I mounted it in a vise, in the vise like this, and I had bored it out just like I did my good ratchet. I bored it out till I ran out of the biggest size of drill bit that I had. Just like my good ratchet, I reamed it out the best that I could, but I didn't ream it out enough. Another thing I want to point out is when I drilled, I did the smart thing. This was right. I drilled from the top down, and that will get you the most accurate hole. You won't deviate off to the sides instead of drilling, from the side like this. The line of work I do, we drill a lot of holes in utility poles, and we go 16, 18 inches. And if you drill from the bottom down, it's just a lot easier. This way, I know that you will easily deviate. So that part I did right. Another trick that I did that didn't work as well as I hoped it would, I did heat and boil this handle up, but I also took this metal shaft here and I put it in my freezer and I left it there for about an hour. My hope was that this would expand and go soft, and this would shrink almost like a bearing, like when you do the bearing trick. When it was time to insert this, I started using my mallet and I started pounding down on it like this. The mallet wouldn't mess up any of the threads, so there was no threat of it. Unfortunately, I got to a point of no return and I had to continue pounding. And as I was pounding, it started to move around. So I had to add more tension to my vise. But unfortunately, that plus the pounding damaged the handle. And I got to about here and I couldn't go anymore. And I'll just show you here. So I got to this point right here, and you can see it was nice and centered. It did deviate a little bit, like the last, the good handle that I did, but I was able to ream it out and kind of bring it back. And it looked like it was going to turn all right until it didn't. So I decided that maybe I would try and save this shaft and use it again. It was $5, not a big deal. It's galvanized, but so I used my rotary tool and I tried to cut on both sides of the handle, and it cut, but it did almost like it was burning more than anything else. And then I ended up cutting the shaft, and down here the threads on this end, I ended up cutting into the threads. So I said, okay, you know what, this is completely done. So my tip for anybody that's doing this is use the correct size drill bits. You can use the method that I used, which is you get to the point where you've run out of drill bits and hopefully you're close like I was and you can ream it out a bit. Especially if you deviate off the center here where you're coming out, you can use that reaming to your advantage to kind of bring it back. You just have to be very patient doing it. Yeah, that's kind of the big thing. I didn't want to hide this from you guys. I wanted to show you. It was very annoying and disheartening when it happened, but these things happen. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. And you just see that, you know, if you stick with it, you learn different methods. And when I started doing ratchets, I had trouble doing ratchets as well, and I screwed up a few times, but I mean, now they're not an issue at all. Anyways, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. This is Armchair Engineer out. I just wanted to ask, put one last thing in the video that I forgot. The reason why in the video when I made this one, I didn't use a vise is because I was a little gun shy after damaging this one. So I thought to myself, maybe I could freehand it. And if I took my time, I could get a nice accurate hole. It didn't turn out as well as this hole, but it still wasn't bad. And I was able to bring it around by reaming it a bit. And so if I was to go back and do it again, all I would do is make sure that I have the proper size hole, or it'd be well reamed out, that I wouldn't have to go at it as hard with a hammer. And another thing I learned was, instead of locking this into the vise, take the shaft like I did, and I screwed this on the end, and I didn't even need this, and I was able to lock it in here, and therefore the handle's not the part being squeezed, and then I tapped the handle on. That was a really good thing that I wish I would have done with this one. But hey, you live and learn. We're always learning. As long as you're doing, you're learning. If you have one of these, use one of these. Like I said before, I didn't want to use one of these because I realized not everybody has one, but I might do another little air chuck or something like that, another little project. I like doing these projects, and if I do this again, I am going to use this. I'm going to use this, and then you guys can decide what method you want to use. Okay, this time, Armchair Engineer out.